In the opening scene of the movie, a large house in a remote location away from the city is seen. Although the building is currently undergoing renovations, we can see that a woman by the name of Donnie is taking care of it. We see an automatically taking pictures camera as she leaves. After then, the action shifts to an asylum, where we meet Ivan, an orderly who appears to be cruel and severe to the patients. Donnie then phones her husband, Dr. Ted, a psychiatrist who works at the same asylum, after finding a location in the house with a weak network signal. She lets him know that she plans to spend tonight in their new home. In the midst of all, Donnie worries about her sister Darcy, who is coping with health issues. She tries to get in touch with Darcy to ask her to dinner tomorrow after she hangs up. Donnie thus leaves her sister a voicemail that begins, "We are connected." When night falls, the picture switches to Donnie relaxing inside the house in a tent. As she steps outside to retrieve her jacket from the car, she hears odd sounds all around her. She is so terrified by this that she bolts back inside and shuts the door. Shortly after, we spot Olin, a strange man outside, and we discover he wears a prosthetic eye. He informs Donnie that he saw someone enter the house while she was outside for a brief while. Olin asks to be let in and warns her that she's not safe, but Donnie says no. She thinks her husband is coming back soon, but Olin says the doctor is on the night shift. He claims to have heard them across the walls and turns out to be Ted's recently discharged patient. But Donnie won't answer the door for a stranger, threatening to call the police if he doesn't get out. Olin is unfazed and tells her to go ahead for her own protection. However, she confesses that she misplaced her phone and Olin is also without one. At that moment, Donnie hears sounds coming from within the home and starts to think Olin is speaking the truth. She thus moves cautiously up to the door and is ready to open it. A few days later, the scene changes to show Declan Barrett, an asylum patient, sketching in his room. Abruptly, he becomes alarmed upon hearing some odd sounds outside his door. He ventures outside to explore when the sounds cease. He finds a dead body with its head broken into bits in the adjacent room, much to his disgust. It dawns on him that Olin is the victim when he picks up a prosthetic eye. A year later, in a different scene, Ted pays a visit to Darcy, Donnie's blind twin sister. Her shop sells antiques that are cursed and paranormal trinkets. Then, Darcy shows Ted an old bell that she says is haunted. She tells how there used to be a cruel bellhop who detested his work. And one day, he died after being shoved down the stairs while tending to an inebriated guest. It seems that the bellboy's spirit linked itself to the bell, and the deceased bellboy will come running if the bell is rung. Ted says they should ring the bell to see what happens because he doesn't think such things happen, but Darcy tells him that the last two individuals who did so were discovered dead. Here, we find out that Donnie died on that fateful night, and the police accused Olin of killing her. Ted then tells Darcy that he came to see her because a patient named Declan Barrett passed away last week from a heart attack. He asks Darcy why she wants the prosthetic eye, to which she responds that she wants to know what Olin was thinking when he killed her sister. Darcy then suggests that they go to dinner the following week, which also happens to be Donnie's death anniversary. Ted accepts, but then abruptly discloses that he's dating Yana. This upsets Darcy, who feels that he has moved on too quickly. However, he clarifies that Yana works as a pharmaceutical representative at his hospital and supported him throughout Donnie's passing. Ted leaves, and when Darcy gets back to her apartment, she hears Donnie's final voicemail, which begins, "We are connected." She said that she had installed a time-lapse camera in an attempt to record any paranormal activity, but she had not yet discovered anything. After touching the prosthetic eye, Darcy is startled to see flashes of Olin's life. She returns to her business and takes a precious trunk after finding out the truth about what actually transpired. Ted is shown preparing to depart for work in the evening 1 week later at his country home. Yana, who is irritated by his night shifts, laments that she is unable to sleep by herself in the house. She then showed him the still existing photos of her and Ted on Donnie's camera. However, she also displays an enigmatic picture of Donnie from a chance snapshot taken 2 nights prior, standing behind a door. Although Yana claimed to have seen flashes of Donnie about the house, Ted brushes it off as double exposure. Consequently, she concludes that it's simply a sleep issue and chooses to remain in her city apartment until Ted resumes regular business hours. After that, Yana gives Ted a wooden trunk that Darcy sent as a gift. Before they can identify what it is, Darcy shows up at the house out of the blue. Astonished to see her, the pair asks Darcy to explain that a week prior, Ted had extended an invitation to supper. He says that Yana is leaving for the city and he is going to work, so they won't be able to have supper together. But Darcy states that since she's already here, she would like to stay even if she's alone. Following this, Darcy opens the trunk she sent and reveals that it belonged to her mother. Ted pretends to be happy and thanks her even though he doesn't appear to like the gift. Yana announces that she is annoyed by Darcy's sudden appearance as she makes her way to the restroom. Ted reassures Yana that they will get rid of the gift as soon as Darcy departs. However, Yana is still upset over the gift. After he departs, Yana seals the trunk, and Darcy explains that a traditional present for a couple's 5th wedding anniversary is something made of wood. She says a witch gave her parents this gift on their 5th wedding anniversary. However, Yana snidely replies that she and Ted are still single and begs Darcy to return her present. Ted looks through Declan's file somewhere else at the asylum and finds odd drawings of a wooden mannequin attacking Olin. Yana returns home and is getting ready to head out for the city when she discovers the eerie wooden mannequin has been removed from the trunk. Darcy maintains that she didn't take it out despite Yana's question. Yana becomes agitated by this and tries to leave, but she can't seem to locate her car keys. She is compelled to stay at the house since she has no other choice. The eerie wooden mannequin is there when the two sit down to dine in the next scene. When Darcy asks Yana and Ted how long they've known one another, the latter responds that it's been 2 years. She makes it clear that they didn't begin dating until after the death of his wife. When Yana asks Darcy what her occupation is, she tells her that she owns an antique shop and has psychic abilities. She says she can learn a lot about a person's life by touching items that have had intimate contact with their skin. The topic of Donnie's murder comes up next, and Yana shares how afraid she is to be alone at home because she thinks one of Ted's patients would come and kill her. But according to Darcy, her sister would never have been so stupid as to let an unknown person into the house in the middle of the night. Then, with assurance, she declares that Olin did not kill her sister. After that, the film rewinds to the night of the incident when Donnie is still refusing to enter the door despite hearing odd noises. Olin tells her to be careful near the door and says he'll head into the city to notify the police. If she hears any odd sounds, he tells her to flee the house. After he goes, Donnie hides in the tent and looks for her camera with a flashlight. She is horrified, though, as she looks through the pictures and finds a picture of a man wearing a mask inside her house. In a panic, Donnie opens the tent to check on his presence, and then, all of a sudden, she is instantly killed by the masked man who emerges in front of her with a hammer. Yana says that Olin was placed in the psychiatric unit after being found guilty of killing his mother by beating her. However, Darcy clarifies that his mother had already blinded him in one eye as a result of her abuse. He had to defend himself and killed her when she attempted to take his other eye, saying that if she had been in his shoes, Darcy would have taken the same course of action. When Yana hears this, she is perplexed and wonders if Olin didn't kill Donnie, then who did? Ivan asks Ted in the asylum why he failed to disclose that his wife was blind. When the doctor inquires as to how he learned of this, Ivan replies that he went to an antique store not so long ago and nearly passed out upon seeing someone who bore a striking resemblance to Donnie. Ted gets a call at that very moment from a displeased Yana telling him that she and Darcy are confined in the house because she can't find her keys. She discloses that Darcy informed her that Ivan from their hospital is the real murderer of her sister. Ted is shocked to learn this and believes Darcy is not feeling well. He advises Yana to lock herself in the bedroom and makes a commitment to come back as soon as possible. Yana drops and breaks her phone after hanging up the phone because she is horrified to discover the wooden mannequin staring at her. However, a few moments afterward, she spots the mannequin in its typical posture. Yana approaches the mannequin while Darcy is still asleep at the table and notices that it has multiple holes in its skull. She finds a variety of odd stuff inside these holes. She discovers two pictures of Donnie and Darcy, one from their childhood and the other from their mature years. She gets scared when she finds a tooth and a bottle of blood. Abruptly, Darcy gets up and gives her an irate command to return the items inside. Yana obeys in terror and bolts to her bedroom. Darcy, in the meantime, chants a spell while sitting close to the doll before dozing off once more. Yana starts watching previous footage of Ted and Donnie on camera in her bedroom. Although the video seems regular at first, Yana is shocked to see Donnie's ghost a few moments later. In the corner, she also sees Donnie's ghost pleading with her to flee. Yana then goes straight downstairs and attempts to wake Darcy, but he doesn't wake up. The woman eventually locates her car keys within the trunk after hearing sounds emanating from it. She then dashes outside and encounters Donnie's ghost at the door once more. Yana eventually leaves the ghostly mansion in a panic. When Ted eventually gets back to the house, he finds Darcy by himself in a dimly lit nook. When he inquires about Yana's whereabouts, she cryptically replies that Donnie scared her away. Ted then questions her about her allegations about Donnie's death, and Darcy keeps blaming Ivan. She admits that she killed Olin because she thought he was the murderer at first, and now she has to pay for taking the life of an innocent man. Ted speculates that Darcy might be having hallucinations after hearing this. Considering that they had never met, he questions how Ivan could have killed Donnie, surprisingly, though Darcy says he followed Ted's instructions. She argues that rather than killing Donnie, Ted ought to have informed her he was done loving her and that he wanted a divorce. At a flashback, we witness Ted and Ivan at his office, arranging for the murder of his wife. When Ivan asks Ted why he can't just get a divorce, he tells him that Donnie loved him too much and will never be able to let go. Moreover, the house he has invested all of his life earnings in will be forfeited if she finds out about Yana. Ted won't wait for Ivan's suggestion to frame the murder as a heist by waiting until the house is furnished. Olin, listening in on a vent in his cell, hears the conversation in the interim. Sensing what the two are up to, he makes an effort to get ahead of them and alert Donnie. Ted is informed by Darcy in the present that although she had originally intended to kill him, she now thinks it would be worse to expose him. She will witness him lose everything, including his residence, job, and lover. However, Detective Peter, who was handling Donnie's case, is someone Ted sharply disputes, questioning her level of confidence in him. Ted proposes that after Darcy affirms that she does, she phone Peter and clarify everything she just said. He says Peter will present her with the evidence that identifies Olin as the murderer. Ted, on the other hand, says he won't have his phone number and that he would go to Peter's workplace and ask him to call her. Asking her to pick it up when the detective calls, he sets his phone on the table in front of her. After that, Ted leaves the house while Darcy sobs in sorrow for her sister. However, he goes directly to his office and contacts Darcy at home instead of meeting Detective Peter. In front of her, we witness the trapdoor being opened. In a flashback, Ted is shown opening the door earlier, knowing that she is blind and will perish from a fall. Sadly, hurries to answer the phone, Darcy trips and falls downstairs. Ivan is asked by Ted, who still doesn't think there are supernatural events, if he told Darcy anything, responds that they didn't talk at all. Ted goes on to say that she has somehow discovered out, at which point he gives Ivan the order to go to his house and kill her. Upon reaching the residence, Ivan first notices the wooden mannequin before discovering Darcy unconscious on the ground. To his surprise, she appears to be still alive. Ted gets an update from Ivan about her condition, and he tells him that she won't be around for long. The dying Darcy is then told not to worry, as it is almost over, by him. Darcy says we are connected as she abruptly raises her palm in the air at this moment. As Darcy is seen chanting spells, Ivan, who is preparing to depart, notices some odd noises coming from downstairs. As Ivan prepares to depart, he notices the wooden mannequin. The dummy has materialized out of nowhere. Ivan tries to escape by jumping from the first level, but he injures his leg in the process and goes back upstairs. Soon after, the mannequin comes up and snatches his head with the intention of breaking his skull. However, Darcy notices her sister is now grinning and observing her from the trapdoor. Then she dies and the wooden man stops moving. Ivan, who has made it through, is shown strapped to a bed in the asylum in the following scene. Ted welcomes him and tells him that they are unable to release him because of his previous crimes. He then asks Ivan about what transpired in the house, and Ivan tells him about how the wooden mannequin assaulted and followed him. The doctor, who will never believe this, asserts that he could not have carried the mannequin outside and set it on fire if it were true. Ivan then asks to meet with a priest in order to confess to him of all his heinous transgressions. Ted points out that discussing Ted would bring up issues concerning him, despite Ivan's assurances that he won't. Ted hired Ivan after learning that he had been a patient and had recovered. If others discover that the doctor had a friendship with a psychopath, he worries that his reputation may suffer. Ted releases a dangerous cannibal patient and leaves the room after saying this. The man attacks Ivan without any delay and goes to town on his foul-smelling leg. Eventually, Ted is seen coming back to the house and checking Yana's voicemail. They are no longer dating, she has decided. How he can live in the same house where two people unexpectedly died is another question she has. Ted discovers a parcel that Darcy's store sent when he gets there. He discovers the bell that Darcy had stated was haunted by the bellboy within. Thinking the story was only a myth, Ted sets it down on the table and hits the button bravely. He starts giggling at the bell when nothing happens at first. To ensure you never miss any updates on new videos, kindly click the bell icon, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.